So we come to the next module now. How speech, in the Grihastha Ashram can be such a wonderful way of expressing oneself, or it could be so hurtful. Just by this method of speech, you could hurt the other person's feelings so much that sometimes there is a permanent damage. There could be a permanent damage. So we have to be so careful. So, just to give you an example, what you see over here is an iceberg, right? So how much do you see of an iceberg? Only 10%, right? What we actually see of an iceberg is just 10%, because 90% of the iceberg is under the water, right? Next slide. So what we see over here, visible sea level and invisible below sea level, 10% and 90%. So the iceberg phenomenon is also applicable to human beings. How? What we see of others is just what they are presenting to us. Knowledge and skills, right? And what is unknown is the attitude. What is the attitude of that person? How does he think is something that is very much unknown. Unless that person reveals his or her heart, most people, will never know what is going on in the psyche of the other person. Next slide. So in other words, what we see over here is the top 10% is the behavior. Right? We make a judgment based upon a person's external behavior, which is actually only 10% of the person's psyche. But 90%, what is inside, right, is that person's values, standards, judgment, attitude, motives, ethics, beliefs. So this is unknown to others, right? What is there in my heart is unknown to most people, right? Unless and until I reveal what my heart is. So this has a direct impact on our behavior. So the subtle consciousness has an impact on our gross consciousness. We know this. This is part of our philosophy. But just to highlight that particular aspect. Next slide, please. So this is the purpose, or let's say this is the way in which we are actually controlled, right? Our whole psyche is controlled by our tongue, right? That means the tongue is actually the 10% that we are seeing, what that person speaks. 90% is actually what goes on in his mind, right? In terms of his attitude and everything. So that is how important it is for us to get control over our tongue. Because unless and until we control that 10%, it will influence how our thought processes are working. This is a very subtle thing, but it is very important for us to know how important communication is towards building relationships. Next slide. So relationships builds or breaks, and appreciation or criticism is what actually causes a relationship to either build or break. And if criticism is compared to be like the painful piercing of arrows. Srila Prabhupada would say that the words that are uttered by a relative is more painful to tolerate. Right? The harsh words of a relative are more painful to tolerate than millions of arrows that are striking your heart. Right? Next. So non-violent communication or compassionate communication, and heart to heart. So here we see that there are two different types of communication. One is passive. We don't communicate. We don't talk to each other. Right? And the second one is active, which is heart to heart. So we always have to think before we talk. Is it necessary? Is it kind? And is it right? Right? Next. So silence is sometimes gift wrapped. It's compared to something that is gift wrapped but not given. That means you want to say something to your spouse, right? It is like having a gift. You go to the market, you go to the supermarket, you buy a gift, but you don't give it to your spouse. So that is the way silence sometimes acts. And your body language. Your body language also sometimes is negative or positive. So heart is like a clay pot. Once broken, scars will always remain. This is an example of a father and a son. Once it so happened that a father had entrusted the son with hitting nails on the fence. And the father told the son that you put nails on the wall as and when there is situations where you are angry with me. And from my side, whenever I see that there's a nail on the wall, I will come and help you to remove it out. So in the initial days, when the relationship was not good, the son kept on putting more and more nails on the wall. And every time the father would come and see the nails, and then he would come and ask the son, why is it that you're putting these nails? And gradually over a period of time, the number of nails that were coming on the wall started diminishing. There's just one way by which communication can be established between couples. Then there's this cultural background problem. And unless mind and senses are controlled, it is difficult to control this urge. So we come to the end of this particular session. Are there any questions here? Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Yes, the previous slide, Amrita. Sometimes, the wife or the husband is expecting that the other person will say something. But just by remaining silent, we are actually not communicating. Right? Or we are doing negative communication. That means just by remaining silent, we are giving a very negative vibe to the other person. Sometimes that can be also so hurtful. It is not just sometimes what you talk that creates a problem, but sometimes by remaining silent also, you are creating a problem to your... So that is the, Sorry? Before this? Okay. Is it necessary? Is it kind? And is it right? These are the three questions that we need to ask each other before we actually utter something. Is it necessary? Right? Is it kind? Is it going to hurt the other person? And is it right? Means, are you talking something which is not correct?
Can you give some practical example or explain how? Because it is very difficult to practice it.
Yeah. You're talking about this particular thing? Okay. So, let us say that there is a situation where the husband and wife they just come back from their respective work, and then they are involved in the household work. Let's say so the husband has, during the course of the day, there were some things that, he wanted to share with his wife. So, when he brings that baggage home and wants to share that with his wife, then as he is narrating that to his wife, he has to take into account these three aspects. Whether what he is going to communicate to her, whether it is going to be actually, whether it is first of all necessary, right? It could be very well that it could be just kept to himself, because there are so many things that a woman unnecessarily gets worried about. Right? Suppose the husband, is facing a situation in the office which, the wife cannot solve. It's a situation that he himself has to solve. What's the point in coming and telling the wife? Right? Or the same thing, the wife, he's facing some problem at home which she knows that the husband can't solve. Right? She herself has to do it. So then, is it necessary for her to tell the husband or the wife? That she has to analyze first. What's the point in unnecessarily? Because sometimes what happens is that typically, the husband and wife, as soon as the husband comes back home, the wife has got 1,000 things to tell her husband about what went wrong in her house. This went wrong, that went wrong, and, because the husband already is so much, stressed out because of his job, And then he comes home, and instead of having a wife who is very, welcoming to him, he finds that his wife only is repeating all the problems that she has had. And more often than not, the husband can't do anything about those problems. Because these are typical domestic problems which the husband, he's busy in his office the whole day. What can he do? So, is it necessary? Right? Is it kind? So, if you want, when you're saying something, what sort of a tone you are using? Do we always blame each other for what has happened? Right? So that's the tone. And is it right? Like when you are giving the information to that person, to the husband is giving to the wife, or wife is giving to the husband, is whatever you're giving factual? Or is it, like we say, added some masala has been added and given, in order to make it more dramatic than what it actually is. Right? So that, all these are ways and means. I mean, these are just techniques to somehow help us in having a better communication with each other. When the husband comes back home or the wife comes back home very tired, the husband and the wife have to understand each other. Like we saw this example between Deva and Bhakti. Right? I mean, just because the husband kept quiet, Bhakti was so happy. Right? She didn't want solutions. She didn't want a Mr. Fix, to give solution for everything that she had to offer. She just wanted somebody to be caring and loving and, just sympathizing with her. So that's the technique that, Jai Srila Prabhu advises that we should follow. Yeah? Is that okay, Mataji? Somehow I've been trying to, but I know sometimes there are situations where, things become very explosive. But the point is that if we gradually try to, apply these techniques in our life, nothing is going to happen overnight, right? If you're having a wonderful relationship with each other, fantastic. That's great, That's what Srila Prabhupada would be so pleased with. But, most of us have difficulties in our marriage. Because there are differences of opinion. There are differences because there are two different individuals who are involved, who are coming with their own baggage of karma and, their own baggage of, past conditionings. So we are trying to somehow or the other blend and make one unit, but it's difficult. Right, so there are no other questions, then we can move to the next. Yes, Prabhu.
My question is like, when it comes to caring, how to guard against caring turning into attachment?
How to ensure that caring doesn't become attachment? Well, if it is, if Krishna is the center, then it will automatically mean that caring is attachment, but it is good attachment. Right? If your caring becomes attachment, which is to facilitate your sense gratification, right? If you're caring to that person so that person should facilitate your sense gratification, right? Then that caring is material. But if your caring is to somehow or the other help that other person in his or her Krishna consciousness, then it is spiritual. It's just the way we look at it. I mean, the initial days of our Krishna consciousness or the initial days of our married life, it would always be the case that more often than not, caring is material attachment. We want to somehow show that person we love her. Right? This word love is one of the most abused words in our dictionary, because actually what we call as love is not love. Right? Love can be only towards Krishna. Right? What we are saying love is nothing but lust. Isn't it? So in the initial days of our Krishna consciousness and in the initial days of our marriage, actually what we experience, what we say that is love between two individuals is not love, it is actually lust. Gradually, when Krishna becomes more and more focused in our life, when Krishna becomes the center of our life, then that caring becomes spiritual. It's not that we become detached. Krishna consciousness doesn't teach us to become detached so that we completely neglect our wives or the wife neglects her husband. That is not what Krishna consciousness is about. That is demoniac. If the husband and wife, in the guise of Krishna consciousness or taking the excuse of Krishna consciousness, they become detached from each other and then they start neglecting each other, then that is not Krishna consciousness. Right? That is perversion of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so we have to be very careful. What is caring? Caring, if it is in relation to that person, to take care of that person, Krishna consciousness, and to facilitate that person's Krishna consciousness, it is spiritual. If it is to facilitate so that he makes facilities for my sense gratification, it is material. But it can't be overnight, so we have to be careful, that, we have to everything, Krishna consciousness is a gradual process. We all have to understand. This is very, very important. Right? In whichever ashram, whether we are brahmachari, whether we are grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyasi, even in sannyas ashram, there are 4 different levels of sannyas ashram. Right? Kuti chaka, right? What are the others? Paramhamsa, bahudaka and parivrjakacharya. Yeah, Paramhamsa is the final stage. Right? Kuti chaka, bahudaka, parivrjakacharya and then finally Paramhamsa stage. So that's the final stage of sannyas. So even in sannyas there are 4 different levels. So we have to understand that it's a gradual process and we are here, it's a marathon, right? It's not a 100-meter dash. We have to do it gradually and we have to gradually advance in our Krishna consciousness, right? And sometimes, there might be fall downs. Not fall downs in that sense of the term, because grihasthas in one sense can't really fall down. But we already fallen. There can be no more fall down. What more can we, But the thing is, Krishna gives that concession to us, in the Bhagavad Gita. Sorry?
The example can be quoted of Arjun. Now, Arjun in the Mahabharata, when his son died, when his son died in the battle of Kurukshetra, he cried, he wept. It doesn't mean that he was attached to his son, right? So he was very. What shows us that he was not attached? Because he continued on in his Krishna consciousness. He continued fighting for Krishna. Right?
Yes. Yes, Balram Leela Prabhu, you had a question?
I was just what Prabhuji was saying, caring about attachment. That you said that if the caring is for the Krishna consciousness of the other person, but that, or sometimes it may not be directly Krishna consciousness of the other person that you have to care about, but also care about their physical, emotional needs, may not be necessarily spiritual needs, and only that can develop to spiritual. So I think sometimes there is always this thing that we do not directly, may not correlate that, if I'm taking care of this person physically or emotionally, then it actually means that that person will get the faith that I care for that person, and that will eventually then lead to Krishna conscious caring, because otherwise, you'll care for me only if I do, devotional service or that, or only for that, but otherwise you don't care about me, right? So that unless a person is at an elevated platform, they cannot.
Absolutely right.
I think that's the confusion we go through.
The point is that that's why in the initial days of our Krishna consciousness, as well as the initial days of our marriage, the caring is more at the bodily level. Right, where, because by caring for that person on a bodily level, it facilitates our sense gratification, right? Then we would like to care for that person more. But as we advance in Krishna consciousness, then we are caring for that person naturally, body, emotionally, physically, everything. But then that care is not for our sense gratification.
Not for ours.
Exactly. Not for our sense gratification. So, we don't care for that person just to make facilities whereby, she will provide, or he or she will provide sense gratification to us. That's what I meant. So that comes later on in our, as we spend more years in our devotional life. Is that okay? I mean, the thing is that we have to distinguish between caring at the emotional, physical, spiritual level. Caring continues right up to the point of death. Right? Even when you become very old, When the wife becomes very old, husband becomes very, we still continue to care for that person. But that caring is connected with Krishna. There's no more sense gratification that I am expecting from that person. Which is, to a large extent, what happens when we do it in the initial days of our Krishna consciousness. When we just become devotees, then it's more towards the bodily level. So that's why Prabhuji's question was that caring becomes attachment. Then how do we ensure that doesn't happen? Right? It's not that husband and wife should not be attached to each other. This, so far as their attachment is connected with Krishna in the center of their lives, their attachment is very good, and that's what marriage is all about. Otherwise, it will be divorce. Right? I'll be elevated very spiritually, and you are elevated very spiritually. You see your own path, I'll see my own path, and then Haribol. So that is not good. I mean, that is not the sort of detachment that we are looking at. We have to be detached from one another, at the same time attached. So it's again, Achintya Veda Tattva. It's all simultaneously one yet different. So that is the point. The point is that yes, we are always looking to be attached to each other, but detached from sense gratification.
So detached in knowing that she is Krishna's property, she is Krishna's property.
Yeah.
And not the body. Means aware of the philosophy and doing the best, taking care of the physical,
Correct.
emotional and mental needs.
Yeah, but it takes time. I mean, this is something that, we all have to, these are the ideals that Srila Prabhupada has given us, right? As we discuss further on the physical needs, Srila Prabhupada has given us the ideal, no sex except for procreation, right? Sitting on the Vyasasan, Srila Prabhupada is talking about, the highest philosophy, right? Which other movement talks about its philosophy like this, Sex is only for procreation, should not be used, otherwise it's sense gratification, it's illicit. Prabhupada defines what is illicit sex. Sex outside marriage. But even within marriage, if it is not for procreation, but, we will discuss that further. We have to understand that there are sensitivities involved. Finally, at the end of the day, it is not, all about renouncing sex that will take us back home, back to Godhead. Right? Just because we are renounced from sex doesn't mean that we are going. I mean, even there are so many animals which have sex only maybe once a year, just for the that's how they biologically they are made. Doesn't mean that they are going home back to Godhead. No, just because you are renounced from sex doesn't mean that we'll go home back to Godhead. Right? So we will delve into that. Yes.
Haribol Prabhu, I wish I had attended this session before marriage, but if a test is given on the duties of the husband, I'll certainly fail that. I'm just reading the top 2 points there. So heart is like a clay pot. Once broken, scars will always remain. So at this point, in our lives, certainly there are lots of scars that that remain, and based on that point, it will always remain. But how do we move forward, from this point and trying to, adhere to those duties, right? And trying to do our best and leave those scars behind without having to, go back from time to time like a flashback, right? So, do you have any advice?
You're talking about your conditionings? What has happened in the past, that is the cause
right, basically the scars that each of us may have inflicted upon each other.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. What can I say? Only Krishna consciousness is the only solution. Becoming more advanced in our Krishna consciousness. Whatever has happened. Yeah, I mean, finally, Srila Prabhupada has given us this solution of chant and be happy. What else can we do? And he also says in the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, very, very powerful words. Grihastha Asharam is miserable. if you read that, and His Holiness Radhanath Swami gave a very, very powerful class on that particular shloka. So, just 4 words. And Prabhupada was a Grihastha himself. It was not that he was, born sannyasi. He went through the whole thing. He had 4 children. So he also experienced tremendous amount of miseries in his Grihastha ashram. His wife was not at all cooperative, right? At least we are grateful that our wives or husbands are coming to Krishna consciousness, they are coming to the temple. Just look at the positive aspects. His wife gave away his Srimad Bhagavatam, in exchange for some tea biscuits. Can you imagine? Such a demoniac wife. So, yeah, Grihastha Ashram is a compromise. We have to make the best out of a bad bargain, forget about the past and somehow move on and become more fixed in our own Krishna consciousness. That will help heal the scars. All of us came into Krishna consciousness because we were miserable, right? And we had the realization. Isn't it? Let's be honest. Let us be honest. Right? Somebody came and told us that, my dear sir, my dear madam, you are miserable. And then we realize, yes, actually we are miserable. Others, they are miserable, but they don't realize it. When we are told by a spiritual master, when we are told by our Pratapadaksha Guru, who brought us to Krishna consciousness, when they tell us, you're actually suffering in this material world. And then if you are intelligent and if, we have that, desire to learn, then, we want to question further and then yes, we are miserable. Let us get out of this material world. So Prabhupada was very heavy in that particular purport. He says very strongly, Grihastha Ashram is miserable. All ashrams are miserable in one sense. Brahmachari ashram also. So much of austerities they have to go through. They don't have anybody to take care of them. Old age. Very difficult, right? We at least have our wives to take care of us. Our wives have husbands to take care of them. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah.
I think we have to decide whether we have to suffer as a brahmachari or whether we have to suffer as a grihastha.
Yeah. So once she said that this is a place of misery, we have a choice whether we want to suffer as a brahmachari or suffer as a grihastha. So once we have become a grihastha, we can't become brahmacharis. So that's irreversible, right? So we have already made the decision and we have gone ahead. So so suffer now as a grihastha. Yes. Yes, AmritaNaam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful first session. I have a question regarding the left brain versus the right brain. Basically, you presented in the first part.
Uh-huh.
So, men thinking logically and women, thinking emotionally. So basically, two incompatible people living together in the same house. Now,
true. Yes.
So, this is from men's point of view, my question is. So, we are trained and, we always think like logical steps by wanting to give a solution. And the other side is, as you went through that example, particularly the second part of it. And that seems to be very, practically it is difficult for the man to even think. Because men goes for, this is a problem, okay, this is a solution, this is how you do fix it. So my question to you would be, especially to you, Prabhuji, would be how you dealt it, or what was the impetus? And how to deal that situation, because it's very difficult to artificially do this.
Sure.
Over and over,
Absolutely. I agree.
It's practical. It's
absolutely
it's
very
artificial from men's point of view.
Very practical question. Yeah, that's why the whole purpose of this seminars are basically to give us the awareness. We may not even be aware that we are doing it the way we are doing it. Right? We are thinking that the way we are doing it is a perfect way. Is the way. It has to be done that way. There's no other way. Right? But when we attend seminars like this, then we come to know that no, that is not the proper way, because there is a different mindset. The ladies have a different mindset, the men have a different mindset. So gradually, then we start, anytime we have a situation like this, at least then we will remember Deva and Bhakti. It comes gradually, yes. But the thing is that this is basically awareness creating seminar, it's only to create an awareness. And if we, go over the seminar again and again, then gradually that knowledge comes and then we start applying it in our day-to-day life. Not that, even those who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for 30 years and 40 years, they don't have difference of opinion between husband and wife. They have. And not necessary that every time they would be following Deva in Bhakti's way. Right? Not necessary. They would still maybe, short of coming to blows, they might be just very angry with each other or whatever. But yeah, the thing is that by this at least we get awareness. Yeah, this is Jai Srila Prabhu's, the veteran in our movement in the Grihastha Asharam who gave this particular example. And yeah, I think it is relevant. If you ask me, from a practical point of view, women's feelings, they count more than, for her, she's not so much concerned about your increment and your, promotion and your success in the office and, to some extent, but it's not the overpowering. But for a man, that is the most important thing, right? Every 5 years, I have to get a promotion. Otherwise, I'm a useless guy. What am I doing working in this company if I don't get a promotion every 5 years, But a woman is not so much driven by all those things. She's got a different... Yeah. So this understanding, through the seminars we get to know and then gradually try to apply that in our life. Okay, so should we have a break now? I think it's about 12 and then we can... 12:15. So we have a break and then we can join back in 10 minutes and, Haribol, so somebody has a question? Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for nice seminar. I was behind listening from you very nicely, and it was wonderful. So, what I hear, or maybe correctly or incorrectly, I don't know, when you was mentioning about Grihastha Asharam, about Prabhupada and Prabhupada's wife, so, which I read the Prabhupada Lilamrit. So, I read Prabhupada Lilamrit and I never heard the word, but I want to clarify that word so it could not be in my heart always. So when I heard you mentioned the Prabhupada wife as demoniac.
No, demoniac nature.
Demoniac nature.
Nature, yeah.
Yeah. So I heard from sannyasis that they say that, like when you mention like our wife we are more fortunate. But Prabhupada's wife, nature, I didn't hear the nature, but the Prabhupada's wife, nature, demoniac. So the Kormon Dev, Prabhupada's father, and when he talked about Prabhupada's wife, he said, the Avhacharan, this is good for you, so you can progress in your spiritual life. Otherwise, it cannot possible. So I was thinking that if Prabhupada's wife, the nature also like demoniac, then how can be Prabhupada's wife was elevated, so elevated devotee, because otherwise she cannot be Prabhupada's wife. When Prabhupada was going to get married first day, and Prabhupada, father was there, mother was there, and the girl husband came, girl father came, and he told, I want to marry my daughter to your son. Then Prabhupada father told he's going to get sannyas. Then say, then it's in 17-year-old. Then the girl father told, oh, he's not going to take sannyas tomorrow. 70-year-old, so that's no problem. My girl can still marry. So I want to clarify that more that you mentioned about demoniac nature, because I heard like that. So I want you to explain more than somebody doesn't have a doubt about
Yeah. No.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for raising this. I meant this particular nature only with regard to that selling of that Bhagavatam for getting tea biscuits. You know, you can imagine Srila Prabhupada had written this, translated this Bhagavatam, and then she takes that Bhagavatam and then she gives it for getting tea biscuits. You know, so that was only in relation to that particular aspect of her behavior. You know, like who would ever do such a thing? You know, that you take your husband's translation work and then you sell it in order to get tea biscuits. So that is just a propensity. That was just the nature of that particular behavior. Not that, you know. But then the thing is that yes, Srila Prabhupada did take sannyas, maybe because of her negative attitude towards Krishna consciousness. But that doesn't mean now, even in our Krishna consciousness movement, we have so many gurus who are grihasthas. You know, like if you see Ravindra Swarup Prabhu and his wife, they are initiating gurus in ISKCON, right? They are wonderful, exemplary grihasthas, you know. So they are practicing Krishna consciousness for the last 40 years in the Grihastha Asharam, right? So like that, I'm not able to remember other names, but definitely Ravindra Swarup Prabhu is a guru. Burijan Prabhu and his wife, you know, so Burijan Prabhu also is a guru. So not that you cannot become a guru as a grihastha, you can be a guru as a grihastha. So if Prabhupada's wife was cooperative, then Srila Prabhupada could have remained as a grihastha and then, you know, till the age of 70, and then after that he would have taken sannyas. So, but till, you know, he had to go through so much of hardship, you know, he had to leave his family and, you know, he had to come to Jhansi and so many things happened. So my statement was only with regard to that particular behavior, you know, like a person could be nice, but then sometimes behavior becomes demoniac, you know. When a person behaves in a demoniac way that, you know, you sell your Bhagavatam in order to get tea biscuits. So, but if you feel offended, then I'll take it back. I mean, it's just that.
That we cannot think like this is Krishna. It meant that's why.
Yes, absolutely. No, see, one is that a person's behavior is demoniac, but how the other person, you know, reciprocates to that behavior could be, you know, good. You know, just because, like Hiranyakashipu was a demoniac person, Prahlad was a servant of God. So you have different natures. You know, a person of different nature. A person is exhibiting a particular quality of being a demoniac nature, but the other person is, a saint. Like in this case, you know, Srila Prabhupada took sannyas, and then, you know. So yes, you're right. I mean, it could be that because that was the final. You know, he tolerated so many things, but then finally, when he saw that she had sold the Bhagavatam, then he just walked out of his house. That's the point you were making. Okay. No, that's good. Excellent. Yeah. Right. So ultimately, whatever happens, you know, happens by the arrangement of the Lord, because maybe it happened that she sold the Bhagavatam so that Srila Prabhupada could, you know, take sannyas faster. Isn't it? Because then Srila Prabhupada didn't have to wait till he was 70. He took sannyas in 1959. When he was just 63. Yeah. Exactly. Correct. T. Yeah. Exactly. So you're right. I mean, Prabhupada took the opportunity to leave and then, you know, immediately. But that was in 1953, if I remember rightly. And then 6 years later, he took sannyas. Yeah. Thank you. So, we will now discuss. AmritaNaam, you would like to speak about this? So, this is, we're going to be discussing some practical aspects of the Grihastha Ashram, which is, you know, quite relevant. Okay, so. Sorry? Huh? Yeah. So, so let's talk about cooking. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Slide.
Okay.
Basically, this cooking, cleaning, in-laws, all this basically pertains to Mataji's, but of course the men also have to play a very, very important part in this. They say, the adage, the old saying is there, that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right? We all know this. this is Karmi saying, but it is very essential, very necessary that a wife knows good cooking. She learns good cooking. She finds out, she inquires and finds out and tries out new recipes and finds out the different ways by which she can please her husband. What happens is that when the wife knows good cooking, that results in making the marriage more strong because the husband is pleased. The husband is happy, right? What happens is when the husband comes home very tired from work and he comes home and he sees a very nice hot meal, tasty meal according to his likes, ready on the table for him, naturally he is pleased, he is happy. And also what more to say than the wife cooks it with love and devotion, offers it to the Lord, and then serves the prasad to him. So that also purifies the husband and, keeps his consciousness good. So that is another important aspect. It's very important that the wife takes the trouble to find out the tastes, what her husband likes, what he doesn't like, and accordingly prepare the meals. Now for the husbands, they expect their wives to know cooking, good cooking. Next. Now the role the husbands have to play, they have to appreciate what their wives are doing. They have to appreciate the hard work put in by the wives because it's not easy cooking in the kitchen. It's a lot of hard work. The husbands should appreciate the hard work put in by the wives, honor with love the prasadam that is being given, not criticize. Small mistakes here and there. Be more tolerant. One minute. And encourage to do better. Little mistakes are there. It's always encouraging. The wife should take all this positive, not criticism, but remarks in a way that she can improve better. Next. This is the good prasadam thali that is offered to the Lord. Healthy, tasty prasad. The second, cleanliness. Our homes, our extensions of the temples. We have heard Srila Prabhupada say quite often in the lectures and in Srila Prabhupada's books that our temples should be spotlessly clean, right? All of us have heard this. Our temples, and you see all these ISKCON temples all over the world, they have kept very clean. The same thing extends to the house. Because our houses are, most of us have deities at home, we have altars, we worship Gaurnitai or we worship Radha Krishna, we worship Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, right? So cleanliness is next to godliness. Srila Prabhupada has said, ISKCON temples should be revolutionary clean. It's a matter of habits and attitude. Next. The husband comes home and sees the house is neat, tidy, clean. It's very pleasing to the heart. And it keeps the husband in a nice frame of mind. And it reflects the mood and nature of the person. So when we are neat and tidy, it's supposed to be in the mode of goodness, and this. But when you are untidy and you throw things around and the whole room is very dirty and there's a lot of dirt around, and it's the mode of passion and ignorance, rather. So it's always better to be in the mode of goodness. As a matter of personal hygiene, we should always be neat and clean. As we know that we have to be early in the morning, we get up, we take a bath so that we can chant. Similarly, our houses also should be a nice place, clean and very... You saw the difference between the two houses, the neat house and the clean house.
Yeah, that's next slide.
Next slide. This is a very clean, tidy kitchen. The bedroom. In-laws. In-laws, the most important, problem that is there in most of the families, rather, in-laws. So you treat the in-laws the way you would expect your parents to be treated by your husband. I think you can speak more better on this. No harsh words, bad behavior or rudeness. When your in-laws are there at home, You treat them as you would treat your parents. Like how you would treat. If your parents were to come home, how would you treat your parents? You would be very nice to them. You take care of all their needs. You would give them prasad. You would see that they are well taken care of, that they are comfortable. Right? So if you treat your in-laws in the same way that you would treat your parents, then it will simplify matters. No harsh words. Be very kind to them. No, not being rude. All this will help. Accept them wholeheartedly. It may be very difficult in the beginning because you come from a different background, or maybe the cultures are different. So it could be a little different. You accept them wholeheartedly, then it will solve the problem a lot. It's very important for the wife to try to know and understand the nature and the moods of their in-laws, their habits, and accordingly then she can, please them. Do your duty faithfully, but do not expect anything from them. When we expect too much from them, then we are disappointed. Now, the role the husbands have to play as far as to make the situation comfortable for the wives. Husbands play a very crucial role in building good relationship between a wife and his parents. How does he do that? By being fair to your wife. By being very patient with your wife, understanding that your wife has come from a different house, different culture, different situation. So trying to be more patient with your wife and not compare. This is very important. Never ever compare your wife to your mother. That is the greatest damage that is being done. Never ever compare your wife to your mother. Your mother is your mother and your wife is your wife. She comes with her nature. She comes with her, qualities. She has her this. So never compare. Your mother she brought you up from your young age to your wife is now sharing your balanced part of your life. So treat them accordingly. I think this.
I know it's easy to stand over here and talk, particularly about in-laws. Yeah, but the important thing is, I remember there was a class of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he was saying that ours is basically a preaching movement. So we are preaching to the whole world, but then when it comes to our immediate relatives, we don't care what they think or how we behave towards them, right? Invariably, that's the problem with most of us. We take our in-laws for granted. We do not treat them right. So in such a situation, then if they see that we are going out and preaching to the whole world and making them devotees, but as far as they are concerned, we are not treating them at all nicely, respectfully, then what is the quality of our preaching? What is the value of our preaching? So not to say that, all the in-laws, sometimes, there might be a genuine problem in the sense that they don't accept our Krishna consciousness at all, right? Or they are very much against our Krishna consciousness. So it could happen that, they are very negative towards us. Then in such a situation, if it is possible for us, to have a separate house, where they can stay separately, that will be ideal. In such a situation, then there is not conflicts on a day-to-day basis. You're not under so much of pressure. But if that situation is unavoidable, where you cannot have your parents staying separately, but they have to stay with you, I think the best is to make the best use of a bad bargain, so to say. Try to manage the situation to the best possible in the best possible way. And gradually, by your own example, if they also become devotees, then it is wonderful. But it's not that 100% of the cases they become devotees. They might still remain, against our Krishna consciousness movement, right? So then what do? We just take it as our karma and then accept it and proceed ahead in our life. But the point is that this is a very important aspect of our day-to-day life, that we have to deal with it in a very positive way, as positively as possible, right? And remember all the time that this Srila Prabhupada's movement is a preaching movement, and the more we deal with our in-laws in a very exemplary way, the more Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. And also we have seen in several examples, that in-laws also become devotees, right? Of course, Lord Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschid mambeti tatvatha. 1 out of 1,000 will come into Krishna consciousness. Yeah, but 1 out of the 1,000 could also be our in-laws, right? So why not give them a chance? Why not give them an opportunity to also become devotees? So yeah, so that is we have to do the whole thing in as much matured way as possible, handling our in-laws. Are there any questions? Yes.
In cooking, no matter how much you good cook, always the husband criticizes that it's an experiment. So what do we do? I mean, for example, I'm saying, I'm not telling I'm the great cook. I will always try to be the when I cook, I always think of Krishna and cook. When something turns out good, see, you are thinking of something else, and you are, that mood is in here. Don't do like that. Always it's like fighting. Big Mahabharata will happen in the house. So, that situation.
I can certify you to be a very good cook because I had your prasadam yesterday. So you are a wonderful cook, and I really found your prasadam very, very tasty and very Krishna conscious and very nice to honor. Yeah, I mean, I also sometimes tell my wife that your cooking is not good, so I mean that's part and parcel of yeah.
At least once in a blue moon, I always maybe after 20 years, I always yell at him at that moment, because I did so much hard work, but he never appreciated it. So how will I control my emotion at that point?
He's raising your bar,
Any other questions? As I said, I tasted your prasadam yesterday. I found it very nice. Okay. Okay, so these are some general points. Being a wife and mother is a great service, as good as deity worship. ISKCON and the world badly needs stable marriages. Yeah, I don't know whether this is true or not, but then there was some devotee who was saying that the divorce rate within our ISKCON itself is as bad as we see out in the world. So whether this is true or not, but the fact still remains that since we are a preaching movement, if we are able to really have a stable marriage and the outside world is able to see that we are really trying our level best to make our marriage work, I think that would certainly help. Cultivate the habits and good consciousness how you do the service. Yeah. Okay. So now we'll come to general problems that, of course, we saw this. These are things that if a wife or a husband is able to, do for the family, like the wife is taking care of the cleanliness and cooking and all that. All this will help towards, working, getting a better relationship going. But then, these are again like. Lakshmi Mataji said that lack of appreciation. Now this is one of the issues that are there. People do think that just because they are married and they are husband and wife, there's no need to appreciate each other, right? But if you see Srila Prabhupada's teachings, if you see the way Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports, as well as if you see Jai Srila Prabhu's book, this appreciation. Yeah, can you? So these are the things: lack of cooperation, lack of appreciation. Just move forward. Yeah. So let us handle this lack of appreciation. Next slide. I think I'll Okay? So, appreciation is being grateful for what one has received. Right? So, even within the Grihastha Ashram, we have to look at the positive things. There will be so many negatives. Starting with our relationship, there might be so many problems, but try to look at some positive things and start relating that to the other person. Yeah, you've done a wonderful job. You cooked such nice prasadam today, or you kept the house so clean today, or thank you for taking the children out to the park today. Something, by which you can show your appreciation to the other person. This is, when the marriage becomes over a period of time settled, like we say, we spend several years together, then we start taking each other for granted. But even in the marriage, there is a need for appreciation. Jai Srila Prabhu tells us that. So lack of appreciation is a sign of being too much wrapped up in one's own self. We think only about ourselves. We're not thinking about the other person. Amazing tonic which injects enthusiasm. Think of your own life. Just appreciating. Krishna consciousness is about appreciation. Srila Prabhupada would appreciate his own disciples. Right? Whatever work, like I was telling you about this offering that he made to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Los Angeles. He was appreciating his own disciples. That you people are doing the real work. What am I doing? And so many times Srila Prabhupada in his conversation with his disciples would say that you all are the people who are really carrying on the